morning, everybody, and welcome to the February.
Push the red button again. Yeah, it's one on your desk.
I don't know.
Well, you're talking about computer, where you go?
I don't know how this system is set up.
No, it's sorted now.
It's sorted. Okay.
Just mute the television.
Yes. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Murrumbidgee Council's February meeting. I'd like to respectfully acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional custodians of the lands and waters of Murrumbidgee local government area, and to all Aboriginal elders past, present and emerging. In the spirit of open, accessible and transparent government, and to ensure this meeting is open to the public, this council meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the Murrumbidgee Council Facebook page. The recording will also be placed on Council's website following the meeting. I'll call for any apologies, please.
Councillor Saxby, some apology.
Okay, no further apologies. Somebody like to move? Move Councillor Kirky, second Councillor Churgman. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. We'll move to the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 9th of December 2022. Would somebody like to move, please? The record. Councillor Corbett, second Councillor Strawn. I'll put those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. I'll remind all councillors if there's any pecuniary interest declarations on the table. It needs to be Councillor Kirky. You've submitted yours.
I've submitted mine, yes.
Thank you. My apologies. We have no notices of decision, no notices of motion. We will now, any delegates' reports? No. We'll move on to the mayoral report. My apologies for the lateness of this arriving on your desks, but it has been a pretty busy couple of weeks, so it's hard to believe that we're actually, almost in March. Christmas has been and gone, and everybody's back to where they're meant to be after summer holidays, back at uni, and out in the workforce. Harvest is finally complete. It took a while, given the wet conditions we were experiencing. And now we're back into the next opportunity, watering, allocations, all of what makes this part of the world thin. And the preceding 3 months were the wettest this area has experienced in a long time. Our recreational facilities have been busy, with our pools being utilised by both families, travellers and schools alike. It is encouraging to see the council's generosity in this space is being noticed. Our showgrounds and sporting ovals are also receiving much usage, with the codes of football, league tag and netball now in full swing. The Jury Apex hosted the annual working dog auction in Murrumbidgee the weekend with very successful and soft vendors. The weekend of the River and Fishing Classic in Darlington Point at the beginning of February was once again very successful, with many participants and lots of fun to be had. Australia Day across Murrumbidgee Council's footprint is a much anticipated celebration, and each community has a unique celebration. They all generously accommodate the others' time slots. Our Ambassador Dinner in Darlington Point at the Punt Hotel kicked off this year's celebration. This year's Ambassador Linda Moran was an entertaining and warm and engaged personality. She mixed freely and acknowledged the great job that our community is doing facilitating our Australia Day events. Her life, a life of energy, passion, challenge and belief, and a life of giving and learning, her journey is quite inspirational to the future. My congratulations to all of our Australia Day Award recipients, especially and most notably our Citizens of the Year. Paul Muir in Colliamley, Robert Gumbleton in Darlington Point, and Karina Rarato in Giraldy. The generous funding Council received enabled us to make all of these celebrations at no cost to the community bigger and better. Councillors participated in a 2-day strategic planning weekend in Albury at the beginning of February. This opportunity to sit and talk and think strategically is a necessary time that enables us to have the essential conversations that hopefully inform us and define clear direction for the year ahead. Presentations by Council's legal advisor and our planning consultant gave us current updates on relevant issues that are at the table. We also had presentations from Council's executive team of infrastructure and planning and community development, and they set out some priorities for the short and long term. It was a very worthwhile couple of days. We find ourselves in the midst of another election campaign, this time a state one. The General Manager and I attended the Local Government New South Wales Regional and Rural Summit in Sydney on the 20th of February. And the following day, the 21st, the Country Mayors Association facilitated a political forum. The priorities by all political aspirants are much the same. You need to remove the blame game from the rhetoric to come to this conclusion. The approaches are different, of course. The primary election issues centre around roads, housing, health, workforce shortages, connectivity, education, energy, the environment, climate influences, cost of living and the sustainability of local government and its place in our future. They were 2 very full days, but 2 worthwhile days. The Ramjo board met last Thursday evening and Friday morning in Leeton. And the Ramjo has a new executive officer, her name is Yvonne Miller, and it was her baptism of fire in Leeton last week. And below some of the meetings that I've attended in the last 2 months. So while we did have a quieter time after our December meeting and into January, life still goes on, and that's evidenced by what's still happening that we are engaged and involved in. Are there any questions?
Where was Yvonne from?
She was born in Albury, but she has worked across lots of NGOs and lots of Aboriginal organisations. She has a very diverse background, an educational background. She's university trained. She was living in Beechwood, but she's now moved back to Albury. She has a partner, a young child, and she's passionate, and she's development, which is in her mid-30s, so this is her career, is her path. And as she said, she's on a very steep learning curve, but I think she has the passion and the enthusiasm to really make it home, which is essential. This Ramjo is so vital to us. Any other questions? If not, someone like to move Councillor Darcy and Councillor Straw. Those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 1, please.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Item number 1 is the curbside 3-stream collection. Go commitment to council to come back to assess and get a resolve the fees for 2023-24 3-bin collection system. After we received the grant, it was a bit over $130,000, which we can use for the green bins to roll out, as long as the kitchen padding, and some educational purposes helped inform the final figure at the end of the day. So the recommendation will be $330 moving forward for the 3-bin system. That covers all of the costs of disposal at landfill sites for the stuff that goes to landfill, to Courage on the Water for the recycling, and for all the FOGO to go to WorkTech in Murrumbidgee's footprint over at the Carraful. Just a couple of things within there. If we could meet the targets as set out by what the average stream of garbage is going into the bins. We could have made it at $280, but there's, we're not expecting to be able to reach those targets. I've set some fairly lower targets. If we can remove 30% of the FOGO and 18% of our recycling, that means 52% will go to landfill. At the end of the day, that's what we're aiming for in the first year. So we'll keep a gauge on that. So Gary will keep a gauge on that. And if at all possible, if we can recommend a lower fee next time, given that all other costs go up, of course, during that period of time, we'll bring that back for the future years. We just need to cover off ourselves for all those costs and the new service, hence proposing to take some annual leave on the dates that are there: March 2, 3, 6, 31, and 30, April 3, 4, 5, 6, 20, 24. I'll just be in Albury with the phone. I'll still be checking the emails and all that sort of thing. Just to get into some jobs that I've got down there that need to be completed by the end of April. That's all. I was put forward to be the Deputy Chair of the CPA Albury Wodonga branch. Council last year acknowledged me wanting to go to that branch and gave an outline of the time commitments, which was it's a 45-minute meeting a month, and we have about 4 or 5 events a year with 10. The only difference was being the deputy chair that I may have to, on one occasion a year, if the chair can't attend the annual planning session in Sydney, then that's what it is. So I'm just seeking council's support for that. So the recommendation put forward from my report is that the information contained in the general manager's report be noted, and the fees for the street food waste collection are set at $330 for the financial year 2023-2024. Council approved annual leave for Murrumbidgee general managers for the 2nd, 3rd, 6th, 30th, and 31st of March, and the 4th, 5th, 6th, 20th, 24th of April. And council supported the deputy manager's interest in to be appointed as deputy chair of the branch of CPA. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yep.
In this further progression of our waste collection, free stream waste collection, we don't identify how our rural landholders are going to manage their waste.
So the council asked me to come back by the 30th of June with a proposal for rural collections, and I'm still working on that. Information that I can go to rates and I can find out that there's 4,000 properties out there, there might only be 800 houses and there might only be 600 people living in those houses that are out there at the moment. So as part of the work that we're doing for the roads collection to identify the classification of roads at the council workshop in February, if you remember, those 8 classes of roads will be based on volume of traffic, and our assumptions will be based on properties that are habitable on those roads. So once we have that, to be able to do that, then I'll know that if there's only two rural properties on that road, then we'll be able to calculate out what that would be. If we go to rural properties, I've never had the intention of bringing forth a FOGO collection for rural properties. Most rural properties, I would assume, would throw the potato peel in the chook house, along with the eggshells and all of those sort of things. So it'll only just be looking at the recycling and the waste that they can't throw into the chook house, for one better word. Right? So I plan to have that to council in a report, in a business, a consultation paper for the 30th of June, because it will take a bit of some equipment and things like that, as previously provided in relation to those smaller garbage trucks to be able to run quickly.
Are there any further questions? Not that somebody would like to move that the General Manager's recommendation Councillor Blake, somebody second. Councillor Major. And the recommendation will read that the fees for the three-stream waste collection be set at $330 for the financial year 2023-24. 2, that council approve annual leave for John Spears, the General Manager, from 2 through to 6, 30 and 31st of March 2023, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 20th and 24th of April 2023. And thirdly, that the council support the General Manager's interest to be appointed Deputy Chair of the Northern Golden Ranges CTA. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Item 2, please.
Believe it or not, in just a little over 18 months, local government goes back to an election again. So 18 months out, or prior to 18 months, we need to have determined who will be conducting that election. There's really only 2 possibilities in New South Wales. It's called the Australian Electoral Commission or the New South Wales Electoral Commission. We went and we got pricing from both, commercial and confidence for the amounts and everything else like that, and the decision to move forward will be to keep the New South Wales Electoral Commission. Hence, the recommendation is that we resolve to appoint them to conduct that election. We have until like the 14th of March to revise of that. Hence, what these is, we only just got the final figures from both parties of the costs about 2 weeks ago. Any questions?
If there is a three candidates per ward,
Yep.
is that minimise the?
If we don't have an election, then there's no election costs for conducting the election. But there certainly is the upfront costs of all the advertising, the work that the returning officer still has to do, and all of those sort of things. But it does minimise the costs.
Are there any further questions? If somebody would like to move, please. Councillor Major, second Councillor Churban, and the recommendation will read: Murrumbidgee Council resolves. 1, pursuant to section 296 bracket 2 and bracket 3 of the Local Government Act 1993 in New South Wales, the Act, that an election arrangement be entered into by contract for the Electoral Commissioner to administer all elections of the Council. 2, pursuant to section 296 bracket 2 and 3 of the Act, as applied and modified by S18, that a council poll arrangement be entered into by contract for the Electoral Commissioner to administer all council polls of the council. And 3, pursuant to section 296 bracket 2 bracket 3 of the Act, as applied and modified by S18, that a constitutional referendum arrangement be entered into by contract for the Electoral Commissioner to administer all constitutional referenda of the council. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried.
So Council will be aware that the funding received for the reconstruction of Glen Covent Avenue was around $2.29 million. Current estimates from the infrastructure team put the total cost of that project at about $770,000 above that. There's a number of reasons that have contributed to that. They're set out in the paper, but to summarise, the scope of the project did change somewhat, with the addition of curb and gutter and drainage, as opposed to the open channel that was originally budgeted for. Obviously, the inflationary environment held. There was some training time involved, there were some latent conditions that were not expected under the road pavement, and some additional brake costs and things like that as well. So councillors at the previous workshop had reviewed a number of options for sourcing that $770,000 funding, and the recommendation at this stage is to source that from the Council's Infrastructure Replacement Reserve, but to replace those funds for any potential pre-position projects that might arise over a period of 10 years. So that's it.
Are there any questions of Caitlin, please, regarding this item? Would somebody like to move? Move Councillor Percy, second Councillor Swan. We'll put the recommendation which will be that $770,000 from Council's infrastructure replacement reserve be allocated to fund the completion of the Ben Coven Avenue reconstruction, and these funds be replaced over a period of 2 years at a rate of $77,000 per year, commencing in the 2024 financial year. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you.
Item number 4 is the funding budget review. So in the attachment, you'll see that there's a large number of variations to the budget proposed for this quarter. Principally, there's a number of grants and things that need to be some drought funding, things like that, which have made a fairly significant number of variations total. So in total, we're looking at $2.3 million increase in general profit for the 2023 financial year, including about $16 million of grants. I will note, as I was being prepared, was also brought to my attention that the SSCF 5 funding for Roller Place has not been included in this variations list, so that will be included in the March review. And as far as the water and sewer funds go, there's only one variation. Plan. So that's the additional announcement. Nothing was opposed. So the recommendation is that the quarterly budget committee be noted and the variances to the budget be.
Somebody like to move, please? Councillor Bryce, secondly, Councillor Moore. Any questions for Caitlin? If not, I'll put the recommendation, which will read that the quarterly budget review be noted and variances to the budget as outlined therein be approved. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Item 5, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, this report deals with adoption of defence policy. As be aware, as the previous workshop, it was placed on public exhibition in January. One commission that received. And the policy has also been amended following the workshop to include definition of a high-risk event and highlighting these events would require council endorsement by a resolution to proceed, and the exemption of Anzac Day marches from requiring council resolution to proceed. Policy now presented for adoption.
Okay, somebody like to move, please? Councillor Blake, seconded Councillor Bryce. Are there any further questions of Gary? Councillor Cherwin.
Just on the previous workshop that we had, we discussed that people funding events, having events, would have a council grant to proceed with it in order to pay for the costs that council will need to provide for traffic management plans and that. What happens if they don't don't have a grant? Do they just not proceed, or is there a way that council helps, or I'm just unsure of that space.
This is in relation to events requiring a traffic management plan. The initial
yes, and any other thing like, for instance, emptying garbage bins, council workers help.
I think that my recollection of the discussion at that point was that if council was able to assist now, if they do require council assistance, it would have to be a decision of council. But provision of fencing, traffic management plans, well, this was all discussed at that workshop. And the decision then, I believe, or my recollection is that Army Council was able to. If we don't have the resources to provide that assistance, we would know.
Yes, Councillor Chudley, the message from the conversation and the agenda item here is that in the planning for any event that requires that level of compliance, the people convening the event need to have the resources to be able to make it happen. It can't be an expectation.
No.
It may be some collaboration, but it can't be an expectation that is automatically given. Okay. With Gary? Oh, no. Would somebody like to move?
No, you have the black and rice, it sounds like all the time.
Okay. Are there any further questions of Gary, please? If not, I'll put the recommendation which will read, the revised Murrumbidgee Council events policy as presented be adopted. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. Item 6, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. This report deals with an application for the Mothersday Markets at Darlington Point. The recommendation is to endorse the development by Business Connect Mothersday Markets Sunday the 14th of May 2023. This is the event that was proposed to be held late in 2022, postponed for various reasons. Because it's been held on the Hidden Bay or adjacent to the Hidden Bay, sorry, does require need to, as I understand, to the traffic committee in October, and the traffic committee did not raise any objections. Darlington Point Business Connect Mothersday Markets was set council for consideration.
Okay. Are there any questions of Gary or any comments, please, in this space? Somebody like to move?
Gary, with regards to TCB, the risk endorsement. Yeah, Gary was just pointing out that the last time around it was approved,
Yes.
but as a result of the events policy now, this is classed as a high risk event, so it can come back for council's endorsement, or they can choose option 2 of the report, which also gives council the understand if they don't wish to have the event held at that location. So if anybody wants to move, I just want clarification on whether it's the recommendation or if it's one of the options.
Councillor Gilbert.
I'll leave it to option 2.
Option 2. The council determines that its location is too great a risk to the public, and council as such does not endorse the event. Okay. Will somebody second that? Councillor Kirby seconded that. Put this to the council.
Can I just have a comment? If it's already been passed by the traffic committee and they don't deem it a risk,
it has to go back to traffic committee.
It has to go
again.
back to-
That's what Tom was saying.
Right.
Because even though it was passed at traffic committee in October, this is a new program time, so it will need to have another traffic control plan, which will come to council, which will.
but if we go to the option 2, we won't need a traffic.
Well,
That's right.
that's right, because the location.
Should it be tested on the new traffic control policy that we have in place?
It shows the location is going to be. Oh, yeah, if it's another high risk area, then it needs to come back again.
So I guess what I need to determine is, rather than the recommendation that is here, Councillor Gilbert has moved that option 2 be adopted. So what I'm doing is moved and seconded. So I'm putting back to the council here, is that the option you want to move forward with? All those in favour? Right, those against? That it's carried. Thank you. So the recommendation will read. Option 2, that council determines that its location is too great a risk to the public and council as such does not endorse this event. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes, carried. Thank you. Item 7, please.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, this report deals with the amendments to the Murrumbidgee Council Development Contributions Plan under Section 7.12 Environmental Planning and Assessment Act. Council will recall this report came to a workshop at which it was discussed that the current contributions plan required some amendments, and in particular the removal of certain exemptions in Class 10 buildings, in particular those relating to solar farms, wind farms and battery storage, as well as frost fans, which are previously exempt from the development contributions. It's now been public on exhibition for some time, during which we received no submissions. And the recommendation is that the Council now adopt the amendments to revise Murrumbidgee Council Development Control Plan, Contributions Plan. Sorry, I also have our senior planner, Steve Carazzo, if you have any further questions. Any questions?
Thanks, Gary. Are there any questions of Gary or Steve? Somebody like to move if there's no questions. Move Councillor Chirpin, seconded Councillor Gilmore. The recommendation will read: the Council adopt the amendments to the revised Murrumbidgee Council Development Contributions Plan, Section 7.12, Environmental Planning and Assessment Act of 1979. I'll put that recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. Item 9, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, this report deals with the adoption of a brand new policy in relation to council-related development applications for conflict of interest. As explained at the workshop where this was introduced, councils are now required to have a conflict of interest policy that addresses protocols in place when they are both the consent authority as well as the applicant. Now, the definition of council-related development is somewhat broad. It could be council themselves, it could be council or staff. So we've prepared a policy and recommendation is to seek approval to place it on public exhibition for 28 days. And again, we have Council Senior Planner Stephen Carazzo, who was able to come up with a policy for us if there are any questions.
Are there any questions or comments regarding this proposed policy? My only comment is I think it's a great initiative to have because it gives us some clear definition about where we go and what we do and what we shouldn't do. So I think that's really important for the organisation and the council alike. Somebody like to move? Move Councillor Major, second Councillor Bryce. And the recommendation will read: the draft council-related development application conflict of interest policy be endorsed by council and placed on public exhibition for 28 days seeking community comment. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Now we're up to item 9.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, this report deals with a draft development control plan for the Young Street precinct development. That's a workshop that was introduced that discussed that council perhaps needed a development control plan regulating or the setting establishing development standards for the new Young Street subdivision. Stephen, our senior planner, has done a great job in putting one together. We discussed at the workshop the current, it's actually a Section 88B instrument, the Conveyancing Act, which sets out development standards for the one Murrumbidgee subdivision in Murrumbidgee. We looked at that. Stephen has amended it in consideration of current development standards. prepared a draft control plan. Now, the recommendation seeks council endorsement of the draft plan, public exhibition for 28 days. And again, Stephen's geared most of council's any further questions.
Any questions of Gary?
Unless you'd like to see it, you
Well, I think so. I think Steve's in the room, so let's
Have
have
we got to
a
move
chat
it,
to
or
him.
do we have to move it before we have it?
We'll listen to what Steve's got to say, and then we'll do that. Yeah.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So basically, the DCP that's been put together uses the Section 88 beach route for the one way stop. Like that as the skeleton for the document, but we've fleshed it out to pick up some other controls. And the whole purpose of the development control plan is to give developers guidance and give them the confidence that if they look at the DCP, come up with a design that complies with everything, when they do lodge an application with council, it should be relatively straightforward. Now, what we've done, there's a few things that came out of the workshop regarding two-story development, multi-unit development in sheds. There are specific controls in that document which are aimed at controlling that form of development. I'll sort of work backwards with the sheds. So, driving around, like I said, people want man caves, where the sheds are, tends to be probably a little bit too big for some of the blocks. So what we're trying to do with some of the controls is limit the size of the shed to relation to the size of the block. So if you've got a block of land that is under 800 square metres in that precinct, the shed size is going to be limited to 60 square metres. If it's up to 950 square metres, it's going to be up to 85 square metres, and if it's over 950, 10% of the site area. So the largest lot in that particular precinct is about 1,050 square metres, so you're looking around 105 square metres for a shed. Also limiting the heights to 3.5 metres to the ridge. There's another control in there which talks about setbacks of sheds from the side and rear boundaries. That's going to be dependent on the height of the shed. So if you have a low shed that's maybe only 2.7 metres in height, you can go to within 900 millimetres of the boundary. If it's going to be the full 3.5 metres, you need to come 1.5 metres off the boundary. Those same controls are there for two-storey development. It's basically a way to control and perhaps discourage two-storey development is, well, the higher you go, the greater the setback. And the reason you want greater setbacks is to reduce the impact on neighbouring properties from overlooking, overshadowing, and not so much view loss, but the other typical controls there. What we've also thrown into the mix regarding, I'll say, multi-unit or dual occupancy sites. I've looked at the sites and basically trying to limit where they can go within the precinct. So we picked the dual occupancies, corner allotments, if they're over 950 square metres an area. Again, there's only 4 with 56 lots. And similarly with the multi-unit development lots, it has to have a frontage of 23 metres and an area of 1,050 square metres. So that gives you opportunity. Now, obviously council, I was mindful of the fact that council needs to consider affordable housing for seniors and disabled persons. So we provided, again on larger lots, a bonus density to speak. So instead of the floor space ratio of 0.5 to 1, we'll give it 0.6 to 1. So to encourage that form of development, but there's an offset in that, particularly with the affordable housing, that they need to provide a mix of dwelling size, and we specifically said you need to have dwellings of 1 and 2 bedrooms in the component, and again with the seniors housing tend to be smaller in size, so we're looking for people who are downsizing rather than moving in the estate. But are the key points of that document? Yeah.
And the type of building?
Materials are listed there. Like I said, again, that was taken directly from the one Murrumbidgee. So generally masonry and wood of urban tones. This particular document, I'll call it a bare bones document because what I hope to do once we get the exhibition done is throw in diagrams to explain and clarify what is meant. The only thing that I was thinking of regarding colours for sheds and what have you, is get a schedule from BHP or the steel companies and have that as an attachment to the DCP. So if we say we prefer whatever term the colour is, because that they change over time, they can refer to that document.
And secondly, Krista and myself drove through Murrumbidgee this morning, and there's quite a lot of transportable homes.
Yes, there's a clause in there which doesn't necessarily prohibit it, but it certainly strongly discourages transportables and relocated homes. When you have planning instruments, so council's LEP, that's the major document, that's the greatest one. That allows a dwelling unit. It doesn't place controls on whether it's 1 or 2 stories or whether it's transportable or not. It just makes that dwelling permissible. The DCP provides an option where we are discouraging and trying to give a strong enough hint that council doesn't like it. So in the DCP, you'll find there is a character statement, the desired future character. In that, we'll talk about what we envisage for the area, which is essentially low density and single story dwellings. In the housing stock, we'll talk about transportable and relocated dwellings being discouraged. I think I might use it already.
Not permitted.
Not permitted, that's right, yes. So
Transportable relocated or second-hand dwellings are not permitted.
not permitted, yes. So trying to, again, guide a person to that. But at the end of the document, there is a clause which talks about variations to the policy. Now, if someone comes to council and it is a transportable home, some of the transportable homes are quite a good design.
Yeah.
And if they come back with something that is within what we're thinking at, or it might be a matter we'll consider it. We'll encourage them to give pre-DA advice before lodging a DA. And we've also alluded to the fact that those applications would go to council for determination. So we're trying to say that, look, if you want to go down that path, it's not going to be straightforward. You'll have to go through some hurdles and what have you. And again, it's not saying that it's not going to be approved.
Well, my concern is getting qualified tradesmen out here to build all these houses that are going to all of a sudden pop up in the next 2 or 3 years. Getting tradesmen now out here is getting harder, and I'm pretty sure council would back me up. Getting tradesmen to build council assets is getting more difficult. So we mightn't have a choice in this because. There's some very good transportable home designs out there now. So
There is, but the policy quite clearly states not permitted, and Steve has given us the process for it would need to come to council for consideration. Yes.
yeah, I'm just
Because
alerting
there's a standard.
the tradesmen. Getting tradesmen here is going to be it's getting harder and harder.
Yeah, it is.
And I made that comment at the workshop. In fact, we've got a little bit of a tightrope to walk down. Whether we make the control standard or the development standards too strict and we discourage sales. And if we don't bring in certain development standards, we could end up with a subdivision which doesn't have the character that we like or trying to achieve. So,
Yes.
Council reads Stephen's draft. I'm more than happy to take calls and put more information out, but it should be done. We drill down any number of different things such as landscaping, colours, a whole range of different things. It just depends on how far council wants us to go.
Yeah, two points. 2 points. Number one, the colour of fencing as a standard through the subdivision. There is some subdivisions in Griffith which have all the same coloured fencing, which kind of knits it all together. That's not in the policy. People are allowed to make their own decision on that. Probably something we have to think about if that's the attraction or the look that we want to have.
That was discussed. What we planned to, because this was, like I said, rushed to building. Certainly, I think we as staff will be making a submission to the own document that we presented to council, and one of those things will be looking at colour schemes, and at that point there is what is a colour. Like I said, looking at the colour-blind palette there's probably, let's say, a dozen standard colours having different names, whether it's or something like that, or slate grey. I agree, that does create for a strong sense of community for the fencing is the same. And the only fencing that, like I said, which impacts on the streetscape greatly are the corner blocks and any front fencing. So certainly colour-blind fencing along the front. I received an application. I don't think I'd be brave enough to recommend approval for something like that. The boundary fencing, if we set a defined colour scheme, and that might be actually something that could be better achieved on the Section 88B instrument. So that way a purchaser knows straight away, because in some cases the fencing is the first thing they do, and so we also add into that. So rather than having a whole raft of controls in Section 88 instrument, which are best suited to the DCP, site-specific, lot-specific ones can be used.
And a colour theme rather than whatever. So you get some, like you might get monument, and then you might get slate, and then you might get something else, which ties really well together because it's a common colour theme rather than a patchwork approach.
Okay. And the second point is I'd like to just get on top of what Councillor Black said about transportables. I think that's probably something that we probably have to look at in regards to put a bit more thought into in regards to how we're trying to push our community forward. I think
there's also kit homes too. So
kit homes will fit because it's got a concrete slab, but I think transporters need to be looked at.
Well, I do too, and one of the reasons why I like the whole idea of the one colour throughout, because as it say binds the subdivision together. But I think if we're too strict on the non-transportable homes, and somebody comes to us and says, well, it's going to be 5 years before I can get a building, but I can get a transportable home in 12 months. At any other time I would have said, I probably would go to that, but I think in today, the reality of today is you'd be lucky to get a house at all.
Well, we had 2 builders in Coleambry once.
Yeah, now we've got none. And now it's 3 years before we can find anybody to come to Coleambry to build. So
probably wise to have an open mind in this space, and we have the ability to have a variation, but we need to be very clear about the expectations.
Yep.
I think that's the common ground we're at the moment. Yep. Okay, thanks, Steve. Any further questions? No? Somebody like to move? Move Councillor Gilbert, seconded Councillor Murphy, and the recommendation will read that Council place the draft development control plan for the Young Street precinct on public exhibition, and upon completion of the exhibition period, review the undertaking of submissions received with a further report to be presented to Council. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. I continue, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I was intending to management. Steve's been working on. We have got now some plans that have been finalised and taken endorsement from Council, and to Point Parks, Lions Park, and show the report seeks approval to endorse those in order to start the public exhibition process. Again, Stephen's done a lot of work in space. Any questions?
Yeah. Okay, Steve, have you got anything else to add before we take questions?
Look, not too much, only that, like I said, the process is what's been going on now for a bit over 2 years. A lot of the changes that were made or being requested from the department are related to legislative changes which have occurred in recent 2 years. So the document that was sent off 12 to 18 months ago don't have the correct information. Others have been, like I said, making it clearer as to what they would like. Otherwise, the documents that have been printed out are pretty much what council saw.
Any questions?
So just a point of clarification in regards to the Drury Racecourse. It makes reference to a number of buildings, including a manager's residence.
Like that little house.
Oh, okay.
I imagine.
Yeah, you just didn't have a photo of it in here. You got a photo of every other piece of infrastructure, but you didn't have a photo of that.
Yeah.
So that's all. Yeah, so that's.
You would probably want a photo of it, just saying.
See, that's the one, like, the car parks to the east, and then, yeah. Okay, there you go.
We used to have, back in the day, Troy, we had a council employee who lived in there, and, yeah, so it's definitely not.
What I will say about that one there, I'm pretty sure I've got a photo of it, but I didn't include it in the document for the simple reason that is a residence.
Yep.
And not necessarily wanting to identify it as such there. Like,
Yeah, fair enough. It just was a point of clarification. I just never knew that.
at the moment, if you do drive past and think, oh, that's an odd place for a house.
Well, I've certainly thought that, especially when the BNS is happening. I think that's a very odd place. But certainly, like I read through it, all makes sense to me for the Drury one. So.
So Steve, with that little house, it being in such bad repair, for us to remove that, is that a process or?
It would be, like I said, to demolish it. It would be an application to council, like I said, a development application to council, and simply also to replace it would be an application. It could be one application. The idea of identifying within the plan of management as it being there gives council the opportunity to replace it, rather than if it wasn't there and then we think, oh, would it be a good idea to have a manager's residence there?
There's a park all around there.
The crown is on the ground already.
Are there any further questions of Steve? If not, would somebody like to move the recommendation? Move Councillor Kirby, seconded Councillor Major. So the recommendation will be the plans of management be endorsed by council for 1, the Darlington Point Parks, 2, the Lions Park, and 3, the Drury Racecourse and Showground. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. We now move to an item without notice, and this is a resolution to do the report. Okay.
Which one is it? Garian Park or?
This is a local government grant. Sorry, that was on my one sheet. Yeah. Yes, that's what you're up to. Yeah. It's okay, so it says here under resolution, so it's going to be, yes, that's right. Okay. This item without notice be accepted and referred to the February 2023 meeting of council as it requires a resolution before the next scheduled meeting. Somebody like to move, please? It's a late item. It's got a copy of it.
The grant funding? Recovery grant
Yes.
funding? Yeah, I'll be removing myself, thank you.
Okay, no worries.
I'll just picture this.
Move Councillor Gilbert, seconded Councillor Children, that we move forward with this late item without notice. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Kate.
So as a result of the disaster declarations that were issued late last year in relation to the flooding and severe weather events, Council is eligible to receive a $1 million local government recovery grant under the disaster recovery funding arrangements. So what the recommendation is that we utilise that funding to fund disaster resilient replacement cabins for the Darlington Point Caravan Park, to replace the damaged cabins that were damaged in recent flooding, and that authority be delegated to the General Manager to execute any documents that may be associated.
Okay, would somebody like to move, please? Move Councillor Gilbert, second Councillor Straw. Are there any questions of Caitlin regarding this late item?
through the general manager, the style of cabin? Are we going for a fixed structure or are we going for a transportable structure?
So, I'll defer to Gary.
Madam Mayor, there'll be permanent structures, more upmarket ones than we had in the past. They'll be on a structure which will allow vehicles to be parked underneath, stairs up, so that they will not have to be removed. And we've been talking. I've got a guy designing giving me a quote to design the frame, so they'll be just one set frame, and we'll just replicate that frame. There'll be stairs up, and they'll be probably about 2.5 above ground level, so they'll be well above flood level.
So how do you go about a disability cabin?
They'll be covered off with the same-day granny flats. We'll set one of those up for disability impaired people. But these will be on a stair type arrangement where you climb up, so we never have to shift them again. The frames will be designed for flooding, as well as impact from debris under the stanchions.
And are we looking for a 100-year flood or 1 and 200-year flood?
They'll be above the levy of the township. So,
well, the reason I was
So they might become Noah's Ark if everyone's swimming across the.
why I said that was because there was a TV program talking about 1 in 10, 20, 50, 100-year floods, and they are now saying Lismore's had 1 in a 200-year flood, which is, you know.
My instruction to the engineer when he was quoting on the design was allowing a Land Cruiser to park underneath it at level flood.
So what sort of Land Cruiser? One with big antennas?
Councillor Black.
I'm sorry, I apologise.
That's okay.
I'll withdraw that comment.
Councillor Bryce.
So this $1 million is completely separate to any of the road rehabilitations, separate to any other.
we cannot spend this $1 million on anything that we can get the disaster recovery money from.
No.
That's excluded.
Yep.
So we can't get any disaster money for this, so this is what this grant is.
Gary, I've got one question. The question is, the same day granny flats, when we get the time coming down the river, can they be lifted and removed?
The reason we're looking at these is because they're on a registrable trailer, which means that when they're set up on site, the wheels will be taken off, they'll be set up on proper blocks, but they can then be simply, floods coming, all the connections just quickly disconnect, the wheels go back on, they drop down and then towed away. So if we have a week's or 10 days notice, they'll be all gone.
Which we get.
Yeah, the only thing that won't be movable at this point is we're looking at a design for the front veranda,
Yeah.
make them a bit more presentable.
Yep.
That'll be a fixed thing, and they may be sacrificial.
Yeah.
Any further questions?
No, but yeah, it's good point of clarification there, Faith. I was a little bit confused with the different names and what funding was going to where, but yeah.
I'm just, I know that our creek was almost forgotten about in any of the disaster. If you were a river, you were fine. If you were a creek or less, it really didn't matter. So just making sure that those of us that didn't have a river are still in the process of being considered.
The other thing with them, when you've got them built up and you park underneath, you can actually get more accommodation in the same area because you haven't got a car park next to it. You park underneath, and you see them quite often at Moama and Danny Caravan, Big River, what are they called? Big Four, all got them. They're quite good.
We're looking at rough budgets at the moment coming in about 150 purchase, delivery, setup, and the frame.
Yep. So I think it's quite reasonable.
Okay, are there any further questions? Is this us, your witness law? Yes, sorry. Okay, so I'll put the recommendation, and the recommendation will be that one council utilise the $1 million local government recovery grant to fund disaster resilient replacement cabins for the Darlington Point Caravan Park to replace those that were damaged by recent cyclones. And 2, authority be delegated to the general manager to execute documents associated with this fund. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. Right. Could somebody get Ross, please? Moving to item 11, and we have the chair of our Arab committee joining us today. Good afternoon, Linda.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor.
Because we've got no volume on the TV.
Could you turn the TV up, please?
Do you want me to?
Okay. Can you hear us, Linda?
I can absolutely hear you. Can you not hear me? Can you not hear me?
There's nothing at all.
Right.
You're in on the phone with them? Yeah. We'll just put the phone in the room. Julie, we'll go to the old school if you can't get it.
Well, I can, yeah, I don't know what's not working.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not on mute. Hi, Linda.
Okay.
Cool.
Oh, that's not.
So can you turn your computer on mute?
Mine. Okay.
There we go.
Good.
Sorry, Linda, with the challenge.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
Right.
I don't know what that was all about.
No, neither do we.
Technology at work.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I will try and make my report to you brief. I've been tuned in for a little while to your meeting, and obviously you've had a very busy morning and still got a bit to get through. But as I said, thank you for the invitation to attend today to present my report to you. It's my privilege to be with you, and I do apologise that I'm unable to be with you in person, which might have been a tad easier. This is my first report to you as a council since my appointment as chair in May 2022. Now, the entire report is included in the paper, so you'll be pleased to know that I don't need to go through it in detail and in its entirety. But just a couple of salient points. It does operate under a very specific terms of reference, which were adopted by Council back in 2018. These were reviewed in November 2020, and the committee reviewed them again yesterday. These terms of reference nearly clearly articulate the committee's roles and responsibilities, what we should be doing and shouldn't be doing. And we generally are in compliance with the draft, and I repeat that word draft, ARIC guidelines that have been established. We're in the process of being established in compliance with state government. And I say they're generally in accordance with those, insofar as the guidelines are applicable and appropriate to you. Since the committee's inception a couple of years ago, you've had two independent members, one of whom is the chair and another independent. You had a change in membership during the year, as I said. I was appointed as chair. Stephen Pinnock, experienced professional, as the other independent representative. Council, Lakers, you're a very capable representative representing council on the committee, and we are very fortunate that the Mayor, Councillor McRae, attends the meetings as well. Very important that this committee has ownership and leadership from the top of the organisation. Since you had a last report by the former chair, I think that was around October 2021, the committee is actually getting, which is number of meetings. But today I'm just going to touch on areas, and of course the two areas of audit that we have carried over, these being external and internal audit. External audit, in brevity, concentrates really on making sure that council complies with its statutory obligations around the compliance with the Australian accounting standards, presentation of financial reports, etc. The New South Wales Audit Office is actually council's audit provider for external audit services, but it then contracts out those services from Australia, who are based in Albury, and we have Brad Holland as the senior audit manager, again very experienced local government auditor. The 2021 financial statements were considered by the committee in October, and it isn't news to you, albeit very disappointing, that the Audit Office issued a audit report to Murrumbidgee based on the council not being in a position to recognise the RFS Red Fleet assets. This particular matter, and a word I use, it has sucked a lot of oxygen out of many rooms in the last couple of years. But the committee concurs with council's decision around that matter, and we will continue to support council in the stand it takes. There were a couple of matters that the Auditor General brought to council's attention at the end of the year, and these related to bringing to account the provision for some future asset remediation works that may be required. The extent of that can't be quantified yet. Essentially, that's why it hasn't been recognised. But management is working on a process to get through the aspects of maybe being in a position to start some of that recognition this financial year. There's also some work to be done about timely evaluation of assets. The water and sewer assets require evaluation and extension of sewer last year. So we're not looking to see anything. So Kate and her team working through that. We haven't updated our meeting yesterday. I think suffice to say they're a tad behind where they'd like to be, but we are reasonably assured that that work should be in place by the end of June. The second area of audit focus centres on what we call internal audit. Again, in just a couple of sentences, that process ensures that there are controls and processes in place to help council identify and mitigate risks. However, it is a process that must add value to council's work. It must improve council's operations by making recommendations that are actually appropriate to you and to you. The council in the last year undertook an internal audit around its contract management processes. It was undertaken by RSG auditor firm based in Bendigo, again a very highly experienced local government audit firm that does work both in Victoria and New South Wales. There were a number of positive characteristics that came out of that audit, and there was only one high risk issue identified, and that related to just making sure that your contract register is complies with the legislation. The work is actually progressing on that. There were a number of other issues raised, primarily around contract documentation, conflict of interest, limited spending, contractor performance and evaluation. But again, those risks were identified as moderate or low. So all in all, the good outcome, some recommendations there that absolutely should add some value, to your contract management processes. And I know by this meeting this morning and by some of the financial information we received yesterday that contract management will be front and centre in the next couple of years as you deal with a number of major projects, grant money as well as your own funds. So always an important audit to undertake for any council. The other area, of course, that the of senior management is responsible for overall financial management. But it is the committee's role to ensure council does operate in a financially sustainable manner. That is included in today's climate. And to this end, we receive council's corporate reports and any other financial that assist us in analysing your financial position. Council is under great financial pressure. All councils are across the country to meet community demands, community expectations, and of course state and federal government requirements and expectations. You will receive today a number of reports that have significant financial implications for you, and they will require a lot of monitoring and management over the next couple of years. And of course, all the additional funding that you either have received and are going to be in receipt of will really test your resourcing capacity and your priorities. So the implications for that will be challenges, and council will need careful management and monitoring. The committee will also undertake a role in that as well. We will make sure that we challenge and question how that financial situation is being managed and monitored. Council is always concerned around council's restricted and unrestricted cash position. Again, we closely monitor that during the year, as well as at the end of the financial. We've got some big projects on the go at the moment, and you also have some still in the leaders waiting to be costed. And of course, a number of these relate to your water treatment facilities, treated towns. A lot of work to do. Look, other matters the committee deals with, we have an oversight of relevant and appropriate policies as they relate to our terms of reference with your credit card, fraud control policy, investment policy. We also look at the risks associated with your Section 355 commissions. We had quite a conversation around those yesterday. Wonderful committees these, they do great work for the community. Work is undertaken by passionate people who want the best for their community, but they do pose some risk to council. And of course, across the globe, and then across the federal and state and local governments in Australia, there's the ongoing information technology issues around some of them are self-evident, but at the moment the big talking point is, of course, issues around cyberspace. Council was part of a Cyber New South Wales audit program recently. We received the results of that yesterday, so there's some positive things there that Murrumbidgee is doing in that space via its external provider. We also meet with key members of council staff, and we ask them to tell us towards the meetings to occur. We're developing quite a detailed forward work plan at the moment that meets your specific needs, because we need to ensure that any control frameworks are in place so that you can operate in an environment that identifies and mitigates risks. The committee will ensure it's, I know it's been going a couple of years, but it's an ongoing learning process for all of us. Your area, you are unique. Every council is unique. But the committee needs to ensure that we deal with those unique risks aspects of your council. So I must follow. Members are at liberty to speak freely, and as the chair, I encourage that. Try not to be too forceful with my views. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't. But the committee members all participate. You, as I said, your council representatives note, I'll pretty much finish. Apart from thanking the current and former committee members, the Mayor and councillors, Councillor Black, the General Manager, the CEO, who is a recent appointment. I have written that down, but to thank Caitlin for her work, and it certainly will enhance your financial management capacity to have her on board. Your senior staff and your councils that represent you to us are professional and they provide us with solid and sound advice. We have objectives and needs of that. So each year will be my privilege, I hope we are to do it because the next time, to let you know how we are achieving those objectives. So at the moment there's work to do. As I said, it's a dynamic list, an area committee, and we will move forward and add some value to your organisation. So on that note, Mayor, I thank you, and I'll let you take it.
Thank you, Linda, for your report. Thank you for stepping up to the mark with our technology challenges. Welcome to the Fun Factory. I also, on behalf of our operational staff and our council representation, I'd like to thank you for the way you challenge us as a committee in a supportive, non-judgmental fashion. It's difficult sometimes to look at what's ahead of us because the pile is ever increasing. Governance is a necessary beast, and at times seems overwhelming. You're quite correct. This committee has a breath of fresh air. It's robust, but it is positive. And while we are small and we are under financial duress, as you stated, as is every council in Australia, but we have made some very positive strides, and bringing our CFO on board has been one of them. It's a daunting task that Caitlin has taken on, but she does it with energy and positivity, and your leadership in this space also lends itself to that. So we are confident that we will be able to manage and to get through this compliance and to have some positive impacts on our organisation going forward. So thank you very much for your report. It's not overly onerous in audit speak, which makes it, for those of us lay people sitting at the table, needing to understand, it is understandable. So thank you very much, and we look forward to working with you into the future.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All the best for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you.
And I'll see some of you again soon.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay. Bye.
Yes, would somebody like to move item 11 and item 12? Move Councillor White, seconded Councillor Price.
I did have a question in item 12. So it's just about, can you give us an update on the excessive annual leave? Are we making progress, or as we did move that policy last June or something around then, didn't we?
Yeah, so we reported that to Eric. Basically, the short answer is yes, we are making progress on the annual leave balance. The policy is having the intended effect, so we have seen a reduction in the balances of that upper end of the scale. And so previously that was raised as a management point for our external auditors, the management and might have been an internal audit. They have now closed that management letter point as that so there's been Eric, and Eric's reviewed that report, and auditors have also reviewed that report and signed off on that to say yes, we can see that the things that you put in place are
So would somebody like to move that item 11 and item 12 be noted?
been moved. Just
Oh, sorry. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried. Okay, item 13, please.
Item 13 is the Tidy Towns minutes from the first meeting of the year, and all is as was last year. It started with Murrumbidgee out at the cemetery, and we've had a couple of new members. Nothing else really has eventuated as yet.
Any questions of Councillor Bryce? Michael, would you like to move it for noting? Yes. Councillor Bryce, seconded Councillor Churkin. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Item 14, please.
Yeah, I'll speak to that. Yeah, so it's the Central Corey Community Centre. Yeah, just our minutes and AGM. Just the main outcome is, yeah, we're looking to upgrade or improve the acoustics of the hall. So it'll be, I guess it's pertinent to try and understand the future of the 355 committees, just how we're going to roll. Obviously had a fair discussion yesterday, but it's about understanding, who pays for what and who can contribute to that cost, because we have got a quote, and I think it was about 35,000. So it is a significant amount. We did have a fundraiser on Friday and raised a bit over $2,000 as well. So we can contribute, but just get clarification, understanding how we can move forward on larger projects. So that's about all.
I think Councillor Major at the strategic planning workshop we identified that we need to have a workshop talk desk way forward for our Section 355 committee. So I would hope that management at some time in the very near future manage to facilitate that for us.
Yep.
Okay, you move that, Councillor Major. Move Councillor Major, seconded Councillor Bryce. Those in favour, please say aye. That this report be noted. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 15, please.
Council received an application to Active Farmer Games and Coyambly for road closure of their event taking place March, on the 11th of March, and we had no objections against their road closure application. So.
No further comment, any further questions of Tom regarding the traffic committee meeting? If not, somebody like to move. The noting, move Councillor Major, seconded Councillor Black. Those in favour, please say aye. Please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. Item 16, please.
Yeah, that's just the minutes of our meeting back in when we first started off in. No, this is the January.
I'm looking at the January.
Yep. This is where we made all the decisions about who was getting what awards. Just finding up with the Lions Club and about the breakfast and everything. Just for.
And item 17, Christine, for review.
Yep, the same. Yep. And yes, we'll have a discussion about consolidating the awards and making them across the three towns.
I think, given that our Australia Day committees are Section 355 committees in council, that will come under the remit of whether we facilitate that. Okay, so we'll move items 16 and 17 together. Would you like to move those, please?
I'll move those.
Move Councillor Churban, seconded Councillor Braun. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. We now have officers' reports for noting. We have the monthly investment report.
This is the monthly investment report covers December 2022 and January 2023. Total invested funds were just under $28 million the 1st of December and $28 million at the 31st of January. Then we're about 48% invested in the bank. All the investments at this stage are in accordance with the policy and the Act, with the exception of the funds that are invested in some bonds, which there's a threshold there of 14% and we're at 14.57, which has just occurred as a result of an upturn because of being withdrawn, so we've just bumped up that percentage a little bit. in terms of benchmark, the performance for the financial year to date up to January was just slightly under that benchmark. I'm not too concerned about that at this stage. So just recommending that the council note the monthly investment reports. If that's required under the resolutions.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Yeah, so just in regards to our investment performance, so when I look at, so it's in the attachment. So in December, our money weighted rate of return was 4.29, and then we go to January and it dropped to 3.22. Interest rates rising on. Do you expand or how that occur?
I would need to have a bit more look into the details.
Okay.
I suspect I did note when I prepared this report for January, I did note that there were some investments which had been using the wrong term to calculate the interest that had been accrued. So I suspect there may be an error in one of those previous reports. Is my suspicion, but I can certainly look into it.
Are there any other questions?
I just, I'm assuming that when we brought the budget down at the beginning of the year that we were going to get $1.50 interest for the year, because that's what it looked like the money was heading at. But we probably got a lot more. I'm just wondering whether, if it's worth just in the background that we put down what our accumulation of interest has been for the year, not necessarily go to the budget and actually keep on topping it, because every quarter we have to put that in. We haven't reviewed that in the budget yet. If we just sit there and we know that we're actually gaining something, it might look like something nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
a good idea.
It is quite a significant amount when you see the year accumulated so far is 437 total investment income, 437,000. Is compared to 1% or
Yeah. Okay, are there any further questions or comments?
No.
If not, would somebody like to move, please? Councillor Major, second Councillor Strawn. The recommendation will be the council makes monthly investment reports identifying all money council have invested under the section 625 of the Local Government Act 1993. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Item 19, please.
So item 19 is on the report on the facilities fund, which is required to report every quarter. Again, substantially all of these funds have been in there. We've still got the water sitting there, as we all know. So substantially they're the ones that are sitting there that still haven't been expended. Substantially all of the community grants have been expended. There's some ones in there still, which I'm advised that may have actually been completed and the funds have been required or spent when included. There's some more investigation is probably required there. Otherwise, 24 of the major projects, 24 of the 36 projects have been completed, and another 10 have started their completion. Water facilities being the major exceptions to that.
Okay, Caitlin. Are there any questions of Caitlin? Councillor Major.
Just in regards to the long day care centre in Jerilderie, so there's still 135,853 to be expended. What's that for?
That's the question that I will need to find out the answer to. I'm not sure.
It's up and operating, so it doesn't seem to be too much more we could do there.
That's correct. I'll need to go and ask that question.
From memory, Caitlin, the amount outstanding for that was about a third, to my understanding, and it was for some level of refurbishment in the pre-existing position, and they decided not to use it because they were moving to the new location. So I think we really need to find out what that amount of money is, because because I don't actually
return it or try
remember
and...
that being.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So can we have that?
Then Captain Avenue, you can handle it.
Thank you. Okay, any further questions?
And it's not really related to Caitlin, but I think it'd be worth just letting the rate or getting an update from Tom on the IWCM. So just for obviously people watch us and for our ratepayers for all tenants. So it's listed under this grant funding. Where are we up to? Obviously, we spent no money on it.
You want me to answer that?
Yes, please.
Now on the IWCM. So the IWCM is now currently in an options report, which is now being created by the Public Works Authority. We are now waiting for their report to be returned back to council.
Can you expand a little bit more for our ratepayers? You know, their water quality and whatever else is.
Study's been completed. Now the option reports elevate to what we can do with each individual filtration plant. That will expand at exactly what we need to do with the plants.
Time frames?
I can't give you those time frames because we've now been waiting 6 months for the options report.
Just trying to read a little bit more to your question, Councillor Major. We've got, within here, we've got Stronger Communities Funds, and if I just use Drury as an example, we've got $385,000 there. The Stronger Communities Fund, which we've used $15,000 for. The reason why we've only used $15,000 of that $685,000 is that we've also got a safe and secure water grant of $1.6 million for Jerilderie. We spent about $150,000, I'll use round terms, because of the safe and secure water to do some work on our filters at the Jerilderie plant, because that's what we were told by New South Wales Water is all we have to do for that plant to fix it. So we did that. Why only 15,000? Because we have to contribute 10% of that to the Safe and Secure Water Fund. So in the Safe and Secure Water Fund at this stage, we've still got about $1.5 million there. We've still got 685,000, so we've got 2.1. We cannot spend any money on water and sewerage. It's in the Act without the big green tick of the state government. The state government will not give us a big green tick until the Integrated Water Cycle Management Plan is complete and all the options, and we've chosen the options and they have agreed with those options. Then can we start spending any of that money on there? But as a result, as we've gone through, we have secured an extra $150,000 from Safe and Secure Water for the options report, the Integrated Water Cycle Management Plan. They also paid for the Integrated Water Cycle Management Plan out of a different amount of money to that 1.6 million for Jerilderie and others, so that's all still there. And we've also put a bid in saying that if the treatment plant comes out as a $6 million bid, then once the Integrated Water Cycle Management Plan's there, then that will inform any more safe and secure water grants. They're not by round, they're just by determination at the time. So in the end, when we get the Integrated Water Cycle Management Plan back, that will fully inform 100% of what we can do, and then we're off to the races. Right? That is so much the frustrating part of the past 3.5 years of going down this process, that we've known that we've had to do these things, but the state government will not say yes to us spending that money. And it was particularly ridiculous in Jerilderie 3.5 or 4 years ago, or whatever it was, 3 years ago, when they said, no, you only need to spend this on the filters, we'll do that and you'll be fine. And we've obviously proven that is
not the case. Yeah.
Right. So that is the full nuts and bolts of the whole process of what we've got there. We've got money there and we can't spend it. That's because of the nanny state that we live in called New South Wales.
I appreciate that, the update, but I think the residents, they're getting frustrated and they want to know. So I think if we put on the record, so they've got some level of understanding. Whilst it's not the answer they were after or I was after, it'll give them a level of understanding.
Democracy, Troy, that's holding us to ransom, and it's very frustrating. And every day, particularly the system in Jerilderie is under significant duress, and it's only the really, really solid effort that our staff put in that have kept it functioning. And I hope this options paper hits our desk before it fails.
So, and the most ridiculous thing is we could, Murrumbidgee Council could win Powerball on Thursday night and have $40 million in our bank, and we couldn't even just go make a decision to spend $10 million on building a plant. New South Wales government has to tell us for us to even spend our money and we've got nothing from it. So that's just.
Okay, thank you for that, John. Thanks for that clarification. It doesn't make us happy, but at least it states how it is. Okay. We will. Will somebody like to move that, please? Move Councillor Black, second Councillor Major. The recommendation will read that the contents of the Private Communities Fund at January 2023 report be noted. Those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 20.
Item 20 is the new council implementation fund report. So again, this is a corporate report that's required as a result of receiving this funding, which was originally received to deputy councils. So there's still $42,431 remaining on funds, which are tagged to the amalgamation for LED and associated with that.
Move it.
Councillor Murphy, second Councillor Chairman. Are there any questions of Caitlin? We'll just spend the money so we don't have to have this report.
I agree.
It's in the right spot. It's in the right, going in the right spot. It's going to the LEP, which we need to fund.
Okay. All right. Well, somebody moved and seconded it. I'll put the recommendation that the contents of the new council implementation fund as of December 22, 2022 report be noted. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Item 21, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, for dealing with the progress report on the delivery program, 2022-2023 delivery program. The report itself, the pulse just council workshop, copy there. So it's recommended that the information in the progress report be received as information.
Please. Councillor Bryce, second Councillor Church. Are there any questions of Gary, please? No? Okay, well, if not, I'll put the recommendation that the progress report on the Murrumbidgee Council Delivery Program to the 31st of December 2022 be received as information. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. Item 2022, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. This report outlines the development applications that were approved under delegated authority. Last meeting in December 2022 up to the end of January 2023. For council.
Any questions of Gary, please?
Yeah, I've got a question, Gary. DA 44. How does the 10 class 10A building turn into a habitable dwelling?
I will try to take that question on notice. That was assessed under the Building Code of Australia. Upgrade of the building itself. From memory, when I assessed it, it complied with BCA. So I would need to check that and get back to you.
Yeah, I just don't want to make sure there's no precedents in there.
No, certainly not. It was determined under both the development control plans as they are, Council's LEP, Steve. That I assessed it under the Building Code of Australia, conditions, certain upgrade works to it, but I cannot recollect what those conditions were, only that I assessed it under the BCA.
Right. Do you see my concern with that?
Oh yes, I did.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Would somebody like to move? Councillor Major, second Councillor Kirby, and the recommendation will be the information contained in the development application approved under delegation as at December 2022 and January 2023 report be noted. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. Would somebody like to move that we now be confidential, please? Move Councillor Churban, secondly Councillor Gilbert. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried.
Oh. I'll go in the pocket.
Right, we move to item 23, please. The occupation of the caravan. It was resolved on the motion of Councillors Gilbert and Curfew that Council A endorse the actions identified within the report and B receive a report prior to any further action being taken. Carried. And we move to the tender construction of Brolga Place streetscape, steel structure and civil construction. And resolved on the motion of Councillors Churchman and Strawn that 1, Council endorse the recommendation of the tender panel and accept the tender for the construction of Brolga Place streetscape, a steel structure and civil construction for $1.83 million, $1,830,362, excluding GST. Tender reference RFT 2022-01-02 from A, Asset Corporate Company Proprietary Limited for the steel structure alternative, and B, IW Contracting Proprietary Limited for the civil construction alternative. 2, the contract and other associated documents be executed on behalf of Council in accordance with Clause 165 of the Local Government Regulation by the General Manager, delegated to the Director of Infrastructure as the Principal's representative. And 3, Council ratify the actions of the tender panel in seeking alternatives to enable Council to deliver Brolga Place streetscape within budget constraints. Carried. Councillor Kirby asked that his objection to the resolution be noted.